We are making a very beautiful gown, and the inspiration for this gown came from these two dresses. The upper part is a bustier blouse with yoke, with a net yoke, while the down part is this straight short three-quarter gown with a ruffle, exactly the way you're seeing it. So we are conjoining these two styles together to get a perfect and a lovely gown. And guys, stick around and let's do this together in a very simple way and more understanding way. So guys, welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time, you're welcome, and to all my subscribers, you're welcome. Without wasting much of our time, let's dive right into this tutorial. Thank you. Please don't forget to like, comment if you have any question, and please subscribe. Thank you. Okay, so we are going to be starting the cutting from the down of the gown. That is the down part, and I have a fabric folded already in two. I'm going to be cutting both the back and the front pattern of the down parts together, and I'm going to be placing my taper exactly the way you're seeing it. And if you notice, I didn't start from the extreme of the taper. I placed it on the 16 and I'm marking it out. The from shoulder to 16 is my half length, which I just minus straight, and from there I'm going to be taking it down to 46. The main length of the gown is 44, but I added 2 inches allowance for the folding. I'm going to be putting lining and to fold it up with 2 inches plus joint allowance. Then at the center from the side, you can see there I have about 1 inch for my zipper allowance, which I'm going to be using for zipper allowance. Remember, I said I'm cutting both the back and the front of the down parts together. So now I came down from the starting point to about 10 inches, and you can see the vertical line I have there, which is for my hip line, and I labeled the first line W, the down one, as my H, which is the hip. So we'll proceed to the circumference. I divided the circumference of my waistline by 4, and I added 2 inches allowance. I marked it on the waistline, and on the hip line I repeated the same procedure, dividing the circumference of my hip by 4, and I added 2 inches allowance. And at this point I'm just connecting the 2 points together. Don't forget what I did. The circumference of my measurements, both from the waist and the hip, I divided by 4, added 2 inches allowance. Then for the down parts, I just marked out what I have already on my hip line, and I minus 1.5 from it, and that's what I marked. And if you've been current with my tutorial, you know this exactly how I cut my skirt parts. So I just connected the points together. And guys, this is just a kind of basic pattern for skirt or down part of a straight gown, and I'll go ahead and just cut it out. So you can see the 2 inches I added there. I'm going to be folding it up with the lining. Okay, let's keep this. And this is the front part of it. Sorry, when I was videoing this, I didn't know the camera was actually off, but just continue with me. You are going to understand every step. So that point is my underbust, and I'm just marking inwardly 0.5, then taking it down to my half length 0.5, and I'm just connecting it together. You can see exactly. Then outwardly, just exactly that place I place my hand now is my underbust. I came in again 1 inches, then downward to my half length, which is 1 inches. I connected the points together, so you can see from that point I'll go up again to my bust point. You can see that is my bust point, and I just came down about 0.5. So I'm going to be taking this line that I have already connected downwards. I'm going to trace it up to that 0.5 I came down with on my bust point. Then on the other part too, I'm going to connect it just exactly the way you're seeing me doing it right now. So you can see now, these lines I have already is just normal basic body pattern. Then from my shoulder point, I just came down about 7.5. That's where I want the yoke to start from. and I just marked the line, and on that same point I came inward and outward 0.75, then outward 0.5. you can see now, and I connected it downward down to my bust point. You can see, sorry, the chalk and everything, the fabric is not so clear. Okay, so the depth of the sweetheart neck is going to be on the bust point, and from that bust point now I'm going to cuff it to the line I have, where the yoke line I already marked, which is 7.5 from my shoulder down. You can see now, so I'm just cuffing it down to the bust point at the center, which is going to stand for the sweetheart neck. And this is based on preference. If you want yours to be down, you can just still come down a bit after the bust point, maybe like 0.5 or 1 inches. Then at this point I'm going to be dividing the circumference of my bust into 4, and I'm marking it exactly. Then I marked the middle, which is the dart I'm going to be cutting out. I replace it, put it there, which is 2 inches. Then I added extra 2.5 inches allowance. Also for my armhole curve, I just went up 1 inch, and to get that L shape, you can see I'm just connecting it like that. Then after I'm done doing that, I came down to my waistline. I divided the circumference into 4. I marked out what I have, which I'm still going to cut out. I replaced it, and I added about 2.5 allowance also. I did the same thing for the half length circumference also. So I connected the points together. Okay, rundown on everything. From my shoulder to my half length is 16 inches. From my shoulder to my chest line is 8 inches. From my shoulder to my bust point is 10 inches. Then from my shoulder to my underbust is about 13 inches. So I'll just go ahead and just cut it out, and then before I remove the darts and bring out my yoke, everything, I'm going to be using this pattern to cut out the back. And you can see I just placed my ruler on it just to get 1 inch, which is going to be for my zipper allowance. You can see that 1 inch. Then I will just cut out every other part the same way. But for the neck, I'm not going to making it deep as the front, but the wideness remain the same, which is 3.5. But for the depth, it's going to be 2 inches for the back part, and I just marked it and I connected it to the 3.5, which is the wideness of the neck. Don't forget to minus the zipper allowance, is not included. So now I place again the front pattern on the back pattern, and I'm just marking out where the yoke is going to start. You can see the yoke, that the sweeter neck. I just marked it on the back part, and I kept the back part aside. So at this point now, I'm going to be cutting out all the drafts. First I cut the neck, also the busty pattern. Then I'll cut the yoke out. You can see exactly how I'm cutting mine. Then cuff the armhole very well. I didn't go deep like that on the back side of the armhole. So now you can see exactly what we have. We have our patterns. You can see now. Then this is for the yoke. I'm going to be putting this on my lace to cut out the yoke. And then I will go back to the back part. At this point, I'm just cutting the neck for the back part. Remember, this is just one piece. I'm going to use this to cut another one. Then for the yoke at the back too, I just marked it on my chest line. You can see. So at this point, I was just thinking, how should I make the back? I decided to just make it a kind of slant, a V kind of. So at this point, you can do anything you want to do with the back pattern, either to make an O at the back, to make it V neck, anyhow you want it. But this is just how I want mine. So the above one is the yoke, and the other part is the main body. Then remember, when I cut this, I have not yet removed all those excesses, so that's why I just removed about 1 inch from the side parts of the back, so that it's not going to be excess. So I'm going to cut this in two, remember. Then at this point, I'll just bring out my net, and this is the net. I'll place the front pattern, the yoke for the front pattern, and I'm going to be cutting it out. But you can see I didn't just cut out exactly. I left about 0.5 for sewing allowance, and you can see how the yoke for the front is. I'll also do the same for the back yoke. I'll cut 2 pieces. It's going to be in 2 places. You can see I'll use the same front, the one I cut first, to cut another one out. So now, after I'm done with that, I just proceed straight to the cutting of the sleeve. Since I'm be using this same lace for the sleeve, so I marked out the length I want for the sleeve, and from that point now, I just came down 4 inches just to get my own perfect sleeve, and I slant it to have this kind of S-like shape, exactly what I'm doing right now. And after I'm done doing that, I'll just mark out again the length, and from that point to 10 inches, the round sleeve is about 13 inches. So I divided the 13 inches into 2, and I marked it there. I always do this when I'm getting long sleeve. Then I added my allowance, about 1.5. And for the round sleeve, the mouth, the down part, is about 8 inches. I divided into 2. I got 4, added my allowance, and I marked it. And I'm connecting the lines together. At this point, I'm just going to cut out everything I have sketched on the lace. So you can see exactly what I have. And I'm going to be cutting this in 2. Then for the ruffle, I just folded my fabric like this, and I'm going to be cutting the length of the ruffle is going to be 12 inches plus stitching allowance, and for the gathers, every other thing, just 12 inches, because at the end I want to arrive at 11 inches for the main length for the ruffle. So at this point, I'm just marking 12 inches. Remember, my fabric is folded, and I'm going to be showing us how to calculate it. So I marked out the 12 inches, and I'm just marking it out, and I will take my scissors and just cut exactly what I have out. 12 inches, 12 inches. Though one part of the fabric is a bit shorter, I'm going to be connecting it together just to get the length, so that the length is going to be equal for everything. I'm going to be joining everything together, and this is how I calculate the ruffle for my fabric. I'll measure the exact place the ruffle is going to occupy, then I'll divide it by 3. We are going to that first. So at this point, I've cut out the linings for both the down part of the gown, so I didn't cut the lining equal length. Then for the upper part, I've cut out the lining, everything. Also for the back part too, so you can see the lining already cut out. For the stitches, I just placed the right side of the down part. This is the down part. Face it the right side with the right side of the lining, and I just stitched the down part first, and I'm going to be folding it up. Remember, I left some allowance for folding up, and I've done that, folding it up. Then I'll take it again back to the sewing machine, stitch the side together, see, making the right side face the right side, and you can see exactly what I have after I'm done stitching it together. So I'm going to be bringing it inside out. You can see now, so all my stitching is on the wrong side, is hidden. You can see exactly what I'm doing is hidden. you can see the stitching is hidden, just the waist part that is open, which I'm going to be connecting it straight, just closing it up straight. And this is exactly what I did also for the back side of the gown. So you can see this is for the back side when I'm done doing the same thing I did for the front. And at this point I already brought it out, so I'll take it to my iron pressing table and just press it well so that everything is going to be aligning. Then this for the upper parts of the gown, and this is exactly how I connected the neck. I just place the down part of my fabric, place the net, making the right side of the net face the right side of the down part of the fabric. You can see, then on top the net I place my lining, you can see now. Then I now stitch it on the next side. After I'm done, you can see I'll still take it and sub stitch it so that it's going to stand well. Then you can try to just sew straight the way you're seeing, but if you want the sewing to be inside, you sew all the edges together like that, then bring it out from the down part or from the armhole side. The same thing I did for the two sides of the back. So I turn it inside out, remember, from the down part, which is the waist part. I turned it inside out from there, you can see now. Then I'll close down the waistline. I did the same thing for both sides of the back side. You can see what I have now, so I'm going to give it a very good press. Then for the front part, I'm going to be cutting out the pad. So I just place the center front on the pad I'm going to be using. First, I marked out the underbust from the pad I'm going to be using. Then the pad is not going to be starting from this beginning of the center part. So I came down about 1 inch from the upper side, and I will just cut the side like this, exactly the way you're seeing me doing it now. Before I come down 1 inch, then connect it to the side and cut it out. And I'm just cutting it out. Just look and follow exactly what I'm doing. Remember, the down part is stopping at the underbust, but the upper part I minus 1 inch from the upper part. So this is me just trimming it out, getting the accurate line, so you can see exactly what I have now. Okay, placing it on the fabric for us to see exactly what we've cut out. Remember, I didn't start from the beginning, that's why we have that space up. Then for the side, I'm still going to do the same thing. Mark out the underbust, then come down about 1 inch from the starting point. Then I'm going to be tracing it out exactly the way you're seeing me doing it, tracing out the curve. Then for how wide it's going to be, I'm just taking it in on the center there, 3 inches up. I took 2.5, then the down part also 2.5, and I'm connecting the points together. Just the center that is going to be 3 inches, the down and the upper part is 2.5. Then I'm going to be cutting it out. I will cut it in 2 pieces because I'm going to be placing it on the 2 parts of the front pattern, you can see. So I'll cut it again, cut the same thing again. So I'll just place it like this. If you are using a wadding that has a gum side, ensure you place it making the right side face the right side, or the gum side to face the gum side. So by the time you place it on your fabric, the gum side is going to be gum it straight on your fabric. And before you sew this, it's much advisable to first gum your hair stain, clothes stain on it. And exactly the way I placed it on the fabric, I just went ahead and stitched it side by side. And after I'm done doing that, I just place the side on the center. I'll stitch it together, place the other side on the center, and I'll stitch it together just exactly the way you're seeing it now. I'll stitch it together like that. And after I'm done, you can see what I have now. This is why I advise that you put Emmy gum in between the pad and the fabric. And it's also advisable to gum an hair stain on your fabric so that everything is going to be rightly structured well. So after I'm done doing that, you can see exactly how it's standing even without the Emmy gum. And at this point, I'll just place my net on the fabric straight, aligning the center, every part to be aligning together. You can just secure this with your safety pin. It's of two ways. You can carry this and stitch it first before you place your lining and stitch it, but if you know you can just do the two at a time, go ahead and do it. And now this is the back part. At this point, I'm going to be stitching the down part, which is the waistline where I turned it inside out. I'll stitch it together and I'll put my darts at this point. Now I'm going to be putting my darts after I'm done stitching the down parts. So now to put the darts, I just place one part of the back. After removing my zipper allowance, which is about 1 inch, then I'm going to go inward to about 4 inches, and from there I'll go upward like 5 to 6 inches from the down part, and I'll come in 0.5 on the both side. Then I'm going to join it together and stitch it up just exactly the place I marked. And I will do the same thing also for the front part. To put the darts, close the fabric together and mark inwardly 4 inches and stitch it just to get my darts. If you know how to get your darts perfectly in any ways, just go ahead and do it. And after I'm done, you can see the front parts, how it came out. Then at this point, you need to iron it very well. If you have your tailor ball, use and bring out everything so that it's going to be nice, and avoid any form of folding on the bust parts. And now I just placed it on the down part and I'll stitch it together to join it together. Then for the back side, at this point I'm going to be marking out the zipper allowance, which is about 1 inch. So I'll mark it down, straight down. And remember, I'm going to be putting an open slit, so I'll mark it down straight. Then from the down part, I will come up like 7 inches, which I'm going to be leaving it open for the slits. And the upper part, I'm going to put zipper after I'm done joining the upper part. Back to the front part, I haven't joined the upper area to the skirt part of the front. I'm going to be taking the measurement. At this point now, I'm going to be using the accurate measurement of my bust, divided by 2. I'll just mark it. I'll do the same thing for the waist side and the hip line. So this is the hip line now. I'll divide my hip measurement by 2 without adding any allowance, and I'm going to mark it. Then for the down part of the gown, I just removed about 1.5 from the hip measurement. The total hip measurement divided by 2, what I marked on my hip, I just removed 1.5, and that is what I marked for the down part. So for the gown, the back part now, you can see I've joined the upper parts together with the down parts, and this is my zipper. I'm going to fix it there. Then there's something, remember when I was cutting, I didn't take that zip parts very well. So at that point of joint, I came in about 0.5 to avoid zip being folding at the back. So I came in 0.5, and I just slanted it up and slanted it also down. And that's where I'm going to be fixing my zipper. And after I'm done fixing my zipper, I stitch the front part and the back part using the mark I already marked out on the front part, and this is exactly what I have. And now you can see a ruffle already placed on the gown. So this is me at this point. I've not yet connect the ruffle. So the ruffle I cut out that time, after stitching the down part, I just put my gathers. You can see I'm just using small piece to show exactly how I put my gathers. I stitch it. If you have a machine that can give you gather stitches, do it. And if you know you need to use your hand, just get it done. And after I'm done, I just carry the old stuff, the ruffle I have, I just placed it on the down part of the gown. And this is me using this to determine where I'm going to mark out with my chalk. So now this depends on how you want. You've already seen how the style is. So I just place the ruffle like this, and after I am satisfied with the way the shape came out, I just carry my chalk and mark it out exactly like this. So now I'm going to be taking this now, making the right side of the ruffle to face the right side of my fabric exactly the way you're seeing, and I will stitch it down from that point where I put the gathers. So that's where I'm going to stitch down. And this same mark I marked, I also marked it also at the back too, and I'll stitch it from that point down to the back around the clothes, then connect everything together. And after I'm done, I'll just flip it. You can see the sewing part will be hidden inside. Another way to get this cuff done is by using your tape rule. Just use your tape rule, place it on your fabric, and when you get the desired shape, how you want the cuff to be, then you can just go ahead, mark it out, and do the same for the back side. And now to get how many lengths, what will be the length of the ruffle, I marked out what I have already cuff out. I measured it, I measured the back one, added the two together, then I multiplied it by 3. So whatever I have is what the length of my ruffle is going to be. That's what I'm going to cut out, and by the time I put gathers, everything will enter perfectly. And then I went ahead to fix the hand, and you can see how it came out after fixing the ruffle, and I ironed it. Then for the neck, I didn't put bias, I didn't pipe it with anything, I just folded it down. I prefer it like that. You can pipe it with bias or a piece of material, and you can see how the back turns out. Also for the zipper, see how it turned out. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.